And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Now, I'm not reviewing Battle for Ultramar in this particular video. I'm taking a look at some army packs that you can get, the Space Wolves and the Orks. So we're going to be taking a look at those two army packs that you probably should get this starting set, I guess. So you have the basic action cards and the starting dice to make it work. Although you can play these army packs with anything. Each army pack comes with character cards, 3 characters, cards, and 2 dice. So if you buy 2 army packs, you'll have the full amount of dice that you need. I like the factions in these 2 packs, the Space Wolves and the Orks, way better than the Chaos Marines or Plague Marines and the Ultramarines that are in the basic set. But, you know, you can mix and match. These add a few new keywords that you may not have seen before, range and frag. I'll explain those as we get to them. Let's take a look at what's in each army pack. So first, let's take a look here at the Space Wolves. I really like these dice. They're nice, clear, easy to see, mostly gray, but they're clear. So, I mean, they're not clear dice, but they're easy to read the symbols on them, and yet still kind of give the theme of this army. So let's take a look at the cards in this one. So we'll start with the smaller units here. We have the gray hunters. So this guy has infiltrate. Infiltrate is a ability I like a lot. It's shown up in some other of the sets, but basically when it's unblocked, you can not do the 4 damage you would normally do, but instead put it back and just do your opponent 1 damage, which makes them wonder should they block or not. Now this one's tough because if he's on level 1, sure, infiltrate makes more sense. If he's level 3, you might just want to do the 4 damage. Or you can get a deadly version. But for 2, this Gray Hunter is, I think, a really good cost. You know, we also got a 2 blank one who's a 3/3. Honestly, I guess this guy's cheaper to field, and maybe that's why, but I would rather have the Gray Hunter than Skyclaw any day. This is one of my favorite cards in the game, the Wolfguard Terminator, because he has range 1. And if you haven't seen my full review for Battle of Ultramar, range basically means you can do an attack to your opponent, you do 1 damage to one of your opponent's dice before the battle starts. And when you use range, both sides that have range can go back and forth. So it's basically a round of combat before combat. That's neat. But having the range and infiltrate is neat. And here's another guy who's infiltrates and can also reduce damage. I like this guy the best though. Thunderwolf Cavalry, this guy here can he helps your sidekick dice get 1 attack and defense, or he gets 1 attack and defense for each other wolf character you have, or he gets Overcrush. That's a hard call as to which of those I would use. This guy, when he's blocked, goes up a level. We've seen stuff like that before. He likes to go up levels, and his top level is a 6/5, which isn't bad. In fact, you want to roll level 1 on these guys and then spin them up because they're free on level 1. Venerable Dreadnoughts, this one's useful because he lets you put out all your Space Wolf cards for free, which is a neat thing to have. This, when he's active, your active character dice have range 1. I like that one. It gives everyone in your team range 1. This guy makes your Space Wolf dice cost 2 less to purchase. This guy lets you buy a basic action die for 1 and roll it. So you can buy an expensive die, roll it, and hope it works. It's just a... If it rolls an energy phase, you put it back. But if you roll the action phase, you use it and then get the die. That's a 50-50 chance. I really like that. Of course, it costs 6 to use. This one here, he lets both sides basically bring out a die, which could help your opponent, so you got to be careful with that. But these guys are 8/8s too. And then Logan Grimnar, the Old Wolf, Intimidate, Overcrush, which is really cool, especially with an 8/5. And then here he's Overcrushed, but he can only be blocked by 2 people or more. I like it, but he costs 7, so that makes sense. So that is the Space Wolves. Let's take a look now at the Orks here. So here's their dice. The red ones and green ones are great. These yellow ones are kind of hard to read, but you know, hey, you would think Ork dice would be green, but the Orks in 40K like red a lot. So we'll start with the Ork boys here. Now this one's interesting. If these guys die, they can come back and play, but they're pretty weak. They're a 2/2 or a 2/1, but they can get +1 attack if you have, if you have other people. Ork Knobs makes them more powerful when someone is KO'd. Or Swarm. Swarm is an interesting thing. This is a bigger swarm than normal. Usually swarms are weaker. I mean, these guys can be weak, but I do like the Ork Knobs can swarm because you can bring more of them out. War Bikers. block damage to your sidekick characters or prevent damage from the range ability to your orc dice. Now this is interesting because this deck, the orcs, seem to be almost anti-range, which again, if you're playing a Marvel deck, isn't going to matter much. But when you're playing against one of the other 40K armies, there's a lot of ranged. I mean here, range 2, this is an interesting global ability where you can give a character range 1. So you get the same thing here, the Storm Boys. This is range 1, but if your opponent has range, then it becomes a range 3. And here, if you're KO'd, if you KO an opposing die with range, you get a die, which I really like. And then Fragged is another ability that's new to Warhammer 40K Dice Masters. When you attack and KO one or more blocking character dice with combat damage, do 1 damage to all opposing character dice that did not block this turn. This guy's great. When he's active, prep the first action die you purchase each turn. Since I'm a big fan of action dice, I really like this character. If he's blocked and not KO'd, you spin him up 1 level. And then a guy with a range that helps out your other orcs. Now this giant thing here, when he uses range, you can KO any number of your sidekick character dice, and each one that you do, you increase your range by 1. I'm not sure if you're throwing your sidekicks at the opponents, but I like the idea here. Same thing here, I can KO my own character dice to do damage to my opponent. Then we have the Stompas, very expensive. But Overcrush and Frag, or range 2, and you can KO someone that they cannot buy next turn. But my favorite is this one, range 2, and when fielded, you just KO 2 target opposing character dice. Oh my goodness. You bring him out, he's a 9/9, and you can take out your 2 biggest opponents. What you gonna do now? Now, it would probably help. I mean, think about that. You bring him out, you field him, you take out your 2 biggest opponent, he has range. So you take out that annoying sidekick that's gonna block you. Who's left? Maybe 1 or 2, and then you'll crush them. Really cool, the Stompa. So, there you go. That's what's in these 2 packs. These seem to mix well with the other sets. The Orks, like I said, are anti-range. The Space Wolves have a different feel than the Ultramarines. Even there's 2, I still will never understand why we always see like a Space Marine set, then an alien race, and a Space Marine set, and an alien race. That's always confused me why there's so much Space Marine stuff. Where's my Eldar, Dark Eldar, Necrons? I'm sure those are coming at some point, but that's really intriguing to me. These fit together. I think basically you should keep the 40K stuff together, but the range stuff, the Orc faction of the 4 factions, the Orc one is my favorite. I like to stop a lot. He's super expensive, hard to get out on the board for sure. But I also like just their anti-range, which doesn't really work if you're playing against like a Marvel or DC set since there's no range involved with those. These are 2 cool packs though. If you're going to get this at all, then you should definitely get them also. Well, there you go. That's my review. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching The Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved!